Okay, so we're going to dive into something really fascinating today. And honestly, it's a little bit chilling. We're looking at what's basically a playbook, laid out in a sort of allegorical letter that details a very deliberate strategy for creating confusion about who we are.
And right off the bat, we're hitting you with this quote. Why? Because this isn't some unintended consequence. This is the goal. The whole playbook we're about to unpack is designed to do exactly this, to get a person so twisted around about who they are that they're left in a constant state of panic searching.
So, you gotta ask, right? What is this identity that's so important to mess with? Turns out, it's not a bunch of different things. The playbook hones in on one, just one, foundational identity that it sees as the main problem.
And here it is. The playbook calls this core identity beloved. And the most important thing to get about it is that it's something you're given. It's not something you earn, not something you achieve. It's just who you are deep down in your very being.
And this is the whole game right here. This is the central conflict. The entire strategy is about getting someone to flip from received to attained, to make them believe their identity isn't just a gift, but something they have to constantly hustle for, something they have to earn.
Okay, but get this. This is where it gets really interesting. The playbook actually admits something, a huge weakness. The author literally says, we can't take this away from her. It's outside their power. So if they can't destroy it, what's the plan? Well, it has to be all about trickery, right? Misdirection.
Which leads us to the big question, doesn't it? If you can't actually get rid of this identity, how do you neutralize it? How do you make it useless? The playbook's answer isn't a head-on attack. Nope, it's way sneakier. It's all built around a really powerful metaphor.
So let's get into the central analogy the playbook uses to explain its main tactic. And I think pretty much all of us have been here before. You know the feeling, right? The playbook paints this perfect picture of sheer panic. You've got an important appointment. You go to grab your keys, and they're just gone. Your stomach drops, and boom, the frantic search begins. You're tearing the place apart, convinced you're going to miss everything.
And that feeling, that chaotic, frenzied panic, that's the whole point. The strategy is to make you search for your identity, for that feeling of being beloved in all the wrong places. You start looking for it in how you look, your job title, what you've accomplished, just this endless, exhausting hunt.
But here's the kicker, the big reveal. The whole search is a complete distraction. Why? Because the thing she's desperately looking for, it was never lost. The keys were in her back pocket the whole time.
So how do they pull this off? How do they create this illusion of the lost keys? Well, the playbook gets really specific. It lays out two main weapons of manipulation.
And these are them. These are the main tactics. And you'll notice, they're not loud, in-your-face attacks. They're subtle. They're designed to sneak in and make you believe that your worth isn't a given, that it's something you have to constantly prove again and again.
Let's break down the first one. Destroy the period. It's a pretty clever name, right? It's basically a metaphor for a psychological trick. The idea is to take a simple, solid statement of fact and just chip away at it with conditions.
So think about it. Instead of just, you are loved, period, full stop, the playbook says to add something. You are loved, but, or you are loved if, or you are loved when. See what that does? It turns a statement into a contract. It makes love feel temporary, like it can be taken away if you don't perform.
All right, tactic number 2 is just as sneaky. It's all about weaponizing comparison. You know, using one of the oldest tricks in the book to make people feel insecure. And here's how it works. You make someone believe that being loved is just easy for everyone else. You get them to look around and think, wow, it seems to come so naturally to them. The message that sinks in is, that's not for me. I'm different. I'm one of the unlucky ones who has to fight for every little bit of love I get.
So what's the end game here? Why go through all this trouble? The playbook is crystal clear about what it wants to achieve with all this confusion. And the end game is basically paralysis. Think about it. When you're stuck in this deep internal chaos, always hustling to prove your worth, you can't live out your real purpose. You can't do what you're meant to do. You can never ever just be at rest. That chaos just takes over everything.
And this line is just so chilling. The author of this playbook actually says they're happy about this. The sight of all these people totally exhausted from trying to earn a love that was theirs from the start, they call it a delightful sight. Just, wow.
Okay, So we've seen the playbook, we've seen the strategy. So what's the counter move? Well, if the whole problem is just an illusion, then the solution isn't about fighting harder. It's about realizing something.
And this is maybe the most important shift in thinking we can make. What if the problem isn't that the keys are lost? What if the real trap, the real prison, is the frantic search itself?
So the big takeaway here is that the answer isn't to just search harder. It's not about looking in more places or trying to become better so you can finally find your worth. No, the answer is to just stop. To stop searching and just realize what you've had all along. The keys have been in your pocket this whole time.
And that really leaves us with a final, powerful question to think about. What if you stopped looking for the keys? What if you truly believed you already have this core identity? If you just stopped that frantic search for worth and acceptance, what would you do with all that freed up energy? What could you finally build or create if you weren't so busy searching?